Well, hello civilians. Welcome back to our channel. And today we will be continuing with our video about the 15 reasons why you need a developed country. So, let's begin. Now, the sixth reason is politicians. Now, a country is run by the politicians who are entrusted with the responsibility of taking the country forward by economic progress and human development. Their basic goal is to raise the standard of living and solve any problem that is being faced by the citizens. They should allocate resources to programs where the citizens can enjoy the benefits equivalent to the tax they pay. They should try to raise the level of education and healthcare so that every citizen can live a good and satisfactory life, but this doesn't happen if you live in a poor country. Most of the politicians in poor countries are corrupt and act like dictators. They often suppress free speech and use violence to deal with a peaceful protest. They pass laws that weaken a democracy, and at the same time, they give themselves more power which allow them to do anything that they want. Most of the dictators get rid of their critics, opposition leaders, honest journalists, and peaceful protesters by arresting them in fake or minor charges. They abuse their powers to ensure that every voice of dissent is suppressed and no one has any free speech. In most of the cases, these politicians rig the election system and buy out the media to eliminate competition. Then they create a false narrative and keep winning the elections for as long as possible to stay in power. Now the seventh point is military coups. This one is nothing new in a poor country, as it happens every once few years, but you will rarely hear about them in a rich country. As of recording this video, two military coups have already happened in 2021. The first one happened in Myanmar and the second one happened in Mali. In both the cases, the military seized the power and captured the prime minister as well as the president of their respective countries. Now imagine that if somehow your politicians aren't corrupt and are elected by a fair election process. What was the logic behind conducting elections and electing a government if it was later thrown away by the military? If the most powerful people can't save themselves, then what is there for you? This has happened before and this will happen again if you happen to live in a poor country. On the other hand, you don't need to worry about such military coups when you live in a rich country. Now the eighth point is war and conflict. Now if you happen to somehow survive a military coup, then that's not the end, because a poor country has to go through a lot more than that. There are millions of people who are stuck in the middle of war and conflict that has left many dead, gravely injured or displaced. Just recently a war broke out between Israel and Palestine, which went on for 11 days. And as a result of the war, at least 254 Palestinians, including 66 children, were killed. In Israel, 13 people were killed, including one child. As of 19 May 2021, at least 72,000 Palestinians have been displaced due to the war. When you live in a poor country, you get affected by military coups and violence that happen within the country. But you also get affected by violence that happen when another country attacks your country. The chances of surviving are little to none. In case of war and conflict, you have a greater chance to not only escape it, but also to get out of it alive when you live in a rich country. Now the ninth point is disaster management. Disasters are inevitable and will happen from time to time. They could be man-made or natural. In both the cases, your survival depends on where you live. If you live in a rich country, then you don't need to worry a lot, as the disaster management teams are well equipped to handle various worst-case scenarios. If a natural disaster happens like floods, tsunamis or earthquake, the team has the necessary training and will respond in the shortest time possible. If the disaster is man-made like a pandemic, the government steps up and ensures that a proper lockdown is imposed. Not only do they advise people to follow the norms, but they also themselves fulfill their duties as the leader of the country. The government of a rich country ensures the timely vaccination process for their citizens. They also announce stimulus checks for all the workers, be it full-time, part-time or on contractual basis, until the pandemic lasted. The rich countries were not only able to stop the spread much faster, but were also able to save their sinking economy. On the other hand, conditions were completely opposite in poor countries. Millions of people were affected by the pandemic. They lost their jobs, their businesses went bankrupt, they even died due to the virus. But they didn't get any help or support from their governments. The governments initially didn't react to the virus, and some of the leaders claimed that the virus is nothing but a small flu. What happened next was complete disaster, as the people neither received any stimulus checks nor received any vaccine on time to combat the virus. This resulted in pushing millions of people to poverty or even to extreme poverty, and this also reversed decades of economic progress. Now the 10th reason is recession. Now every 10 years or so, there's a massive recession when the economy goes down, businesses go bankrupt and people lose their jobs and livelihood. This happens to each and every country, and even rich countries aren't safe. But since most of the rich countries have a well diversified and a robust economy, they are able to prevail a recession. On the other hand, poor countries usually rely on just one source of income like oil or exports, and this causes their economy to shrink massively in case of a recession. Now combine the recession with a corrupt government, high inflation, low standard of living, less overall spending due to the recession, and a crippling economy, and you get a perfect recipe for disaster. A recession is quite problematic, but living in a poor country makes it worse and even more miserable. Now, to keep this video short and simple, we will just end here, and in the next video we will continue with more points as to why you need a developed country. Well, that was it for today's CiBillions. If you really liked our content, then please like, comment, share and subscribe, because it is your likes that motivate us to make more content just for you. And do follow us on Instagram, because our community of like-minded people is growing bigger day by day. So, thanks for being with us until the end, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you.